Yo, what's up my little computer scientists? So, SQL versus NoSQL. What does the SQL and NoSQL mean? What's the difference between them and which one should you use? If you want to find out the answers to these questions, then this video is for you guys. Let me start with the SQL first. SQL stands for the Structured Query Language. This language is used to manage relational databases and to perform various operations on data in them. If you don't know what is the relational database, it is a collection of data items with predefined relationships between them. These items are organized as a set of tables with columns and rows. So, if we have a relational database, we can use SQL to, for example, insert, search, update, or delete database records, etc. Relational databases like MySQL database, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, etc. they use SQL, and SQL is super popular. This was a very short intro to SQL. Now let's figure out what is the NoSQL. When people use the term NoSQL, they typically use it to refer to any non-relational database. NoSQL databases come in a variety of types, based on their data model. The main types are document, key value, wide column stores, and graph. Let me quickly go through each of these types in a bit more details. Document databases. What are they? Basically, document databases store data in documents similar to the JSON objects. Each document contains pairs of fields and values. The values can typically be a variety of types, including things like strings, numbers, booleans, arrays, or objects. Key value databases. They store data as a collection of key value pairs, in which a key serves as a unique identifier. Wide column stores use tables, rows, and columns, but unlike a relational database, the names and format of the columns can vary from row to row in the same table. Graph databases use nodes to store data entities and edges to store relationships between entities. Graph databases have advantages for use cases when you need to create relationships between data and quickly query these relationships. Graph databases are very useful in social networks, recommendation engines, or in fraud detection. All of these NoSQL database types provide flexible schemas and scale easily with large amounts of data and high user loads. That's why NoSQL is used for big data and real-time web apps. Now we have a general understanding of what the SQL and NoSQL are. And you might be wondering, which one is actually better and which one should you use for your projects? The thing is, both the SQL and NoSQL have their own advantages and disadvantages, and it very depends on the situation, which one to use. For example, in case if your data is structured and organized and you're expecting that you will need to query the data often, in this situation, in majority of cases it will be preferred to use SQL rather than NoSQL. SQL efficiently executes queries and retrieves and edits data quickly. In comparison, NoSQL databases provide a ton of flexibility in the types of data that you can store, but because of the potentially large differences in data structures, querying isn't as efficient as with the SQL database. However, a huge advantage that NoSQL has over SQL is scaling. SQL databases were designed to run on a single server to maintain the integrity of the data, so they're not easy to scale. SQL databases scale vertically, meaning you need to increase the capacity of a single server, like increasing your CPU, RAM, or SSD to scale your database. NoSQL databases scale horizontally, meaning that you can add more servers to power your growing database, which makes it very easy and efficient to scale. The ability of NoSQL databases to horizontally scale has to do with the lack of structure of the data. Because NoSQL requires much less structure than SQL, each stored object is pretty much self-contained and independent. Thus, objects can be easily stored on multiple servers without having to be linked. This is not the case for SQL, where each table row and column needs to be related. An example for vertical and horizontal scaling is a wedding cake. With SQL, you can feed more people by adding more layers to the wedding cake. With NoSQL, you can just make a bunch of wedding cupcakes and that's it. And of course you can try to add more layers to your wedding cake to make it bigger, so that you will be able to feed more people, but it is hard and there might be some risks, like imagine if your wedding cake just falls when it becomes too big. But with the wedding cupcakes, you just simply produce more of them and you can quickly scale when you need it, and everyone will get their dessert during the wedding. But if, for example, you're developing a banking system where the system consists of the things like user accounts, money transfers, deposits, etc., in this case you definitely should use SQL to manipulate the data. SQL-based database systems support something what is called the transaction processing, where a process consists of multiple small processes acting as a single unit. If one process fails, the whole operation should fail as well. In a banking system, this is important because a small failure can result in big loss of money. And NoSQL will not give you 100% guarantee in this scenario because it has been built for a bit different purposes. That's why for the things like a banking system, definitely use SQL. Okay, let's summarize everything now. So, SQL databases are table-based databases, and NoSQL databases can be document-based, key-value pairs, wide column stores, or graph databases. These are the most popular ones. Then another thing. SQL databases have a predefined schema, but NoSQL databases use a dynamic schema. Another thing is ability to scale. SQL databases are vertically scalable, whereas the NoSQL databases are horizontally scalable. SQL is an ideal choice for the complex query-intensive environment, but NoSQL will not be very good for the complex queries, but it's widely used in the big data world because of some other advantages. Another point, SQL. It should be used when the validity is super important, but for the NoSQL, it should be used when it's more important to have fast data than correct data. This is the end of the video, guys. I hope that everything was clear and now you understand what the SQL and NoSQL are, what's the difference between them and which one to use when. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. Thank you and see you later.